Steel wheel M390 Modus update. I do cut testing on this channel. I use a 20-degree workshop edge on all sorts of knives. I've probably done about 100 knives, 80 different steels I would say, in my day so far, last year mainly. You get a rough hierarchy of how all the steels are going to perform. Previous examples of M390 indicate that this knife would cut, and these are my testing mediums. This rope, it should cut it about 300-ish times before it no longer slices held paper, which is where I hold the bit of paper up and go like that, and the knife just bites in and does a full slice. That's my benchmark. It's not perfect, absolutely not. I'm not doing the work of a Harvard research team here, but it's like a bro science way of roughly quantifying all these crazy steels we keep getting told about. What's the point of being told about these awesome steels if no one's actually sort of saying, oh yeah, I've cut this with this one and I cut this with this one and I noticed the difference. There's lots of talk, but talk is cheap. So that's one of my goals, was to actually show some stuff. So that's kind of what I do here. As a result, you get a rough idea of how lots of steels are going to perform once I've tested them once, ideally twice or 3 times. M390 I've tested a couple of times now, and yeah, it should have done, with a workshop edge it does at least 300. With a really sharp polished edge it can do like 400 passes of rope before it no longer slices the held paper. It's great steel. This knife here yesterday, I couldn't get it above 100 even with with various edges. I tried all sorts of edges. Lots of different things I tried. Firstly, I tried the factory edge. Never expect the factory edges to do well. It's fine. They're often shipped broad for immediate sharpness, but not going super dull, super quick. That's fine. Then I did my workshop edge. I did two sessions of a 20-degree polished edge. Removed a lot of material from the knife to get rid of the whole "it might be burnt" thing. And then I did a Tormek 15-degree edge, which is really high, and that cut the best so far. And then I did a 17-degree toothy edge on a Lansky, which is a bit more of a better finished edge, and that did the best. So that got up to 100 cuts, which even still isn't what I expect out of the knife. So the comments went nuts. People love to see the conspiracy. First, I did stress, it's just this one knife. I've had shit versions of one knife from all the good companies. I've had bad Benchmades come. I've had bad Spydercos come. I've had bad Kershaw's, zero tolerances come. Those brands are fine. There's no indication yet that this brand is not fine. This is just one knife. So I'll start with that. I must preface with that because there are people behind this brand, and it's important to. I just kind of like try and show my stuff rather than draw too many conclusions. But that being said, what was bothering me was that they didn't tell me which OEM they use in Italy. OEMs are a funny thing. So an OEM is an original equipment manufacturer, and that is where you design a knife, but you get someone else to make it for you. Very, very common. You can't expect everyone who designs a knife to go and buy their own knife building machines. Some people just have a great knife design. It's the same as if you sell your design to Spyderco or Schrade or any other company. It's cool. Real Steel, I think, are a design house that... Steel Wheel. Their names are similar, I'm sorry. Steel Wheel are a design house that gets other companies, that gets OEMs to make their knives for them. Totally fine. And I think largely the knife community is totally fine with OEMs. All that puzzles me is when they don't say which OEM they use. Or they say where it's made, but not, that I don't quite get. I don't know what the secrecy would be, and I asked them and I was a bit like, why aren't they telling me? Because unfortunately, there are a couple of companies that are ruined using OEMs and not being fully upfront about them. They've ruined them for all of you, and it's not the consumer's fault, it is your fellow knife company's fault. There are companies that are pretty widely rumoured to make knives from Weyer knives or Wee knives, and then say that they're made in good old-fashioned Texas, USA. And don't try and find our factory there because it's off the grid and we use 6 satellite facilities. But our main factory is awesome, but we can't show it to you. And actually, here's a photo of of one of our machines. Oh, what? Wee knives have shared the same photo on Instagram? No, don't worry about that now. Let's tell you about our new factory. It's amazing. It's off the grid. It's solar powered. It's got a 3-story knife museum in it. It's amazing. But don't look for it on Google Earth. It's actually got this special technology above it that makes it look like an empty field or a tiny little house. That address that we gave you before that actually comes out to a residential property, that's our office. It went on, and it's embarrassing. And they're still sticking to their story, and they just block everyone on Instagram who questions them about it. Disaster. Not us, the consumer's fault. That's the fellow maker's fault. So yeah, that's ruined OEMs for everyone, unfortunately. Yeah, so I was like, why aren't they telling me, like, this isn't the way it works anymore? I'm sorry, it's been spoilt by those Texans. So yeah, that was one thing I did share. And I shared a bit of a smart-assy meme about it on my Instagram. That's how we millennials communicate, unfortunately. And yeah, luckily, and they've responded. So, and you know, as long as they respond, and as long as they're not like aggro, like it's all I care about. Believe me, I hate when these things don't go well. I find it so cringy dealing with all like the fallout and all of the talking to the manufacturers and stuff. I'm always like, ugh. So yeah, they've been fine. They've responded. So the response is that, yep. Well, can you send us a knife? I want to see what's going on with it. They've not they haven't been on the attack, which has been cool. I did try and give it a fair shake in the video. I think I got that across. Yeah, and they also said that Mazarin makes this knife, which I was like, thankfully, that's fine, because Mazarin, everyone knows Mazarin. Like it's all good. Mazarin make all sorts of knives for all sorts of people. Groovy. Not sure what the secret was, but that's fine. I don't quite understand the industry as well. So Mazarin makes this Modus knife, which is fine. So it is made in Italy by an Italian company, Mazarin. Happy with that. They said also that they did this test as well, and it cut about 300 times with one of the ones that they pulled off the shelf. Of course, all the variables come into it, like what rope did you use, like what surface did you use. I'm never too fussed about that. I think it's great to just test at any rate. Awesome. Test is what I say. Even if you don't use exactly the same stuff as me, I think everyone should test. Even if you go and buy some cardboard and say, I'm going to cut 100 foot of cardboard with every knife I buy and just see how the edges hold up. So use your stuff is the best lesson from all this for everyone. But yes, they've responded, and I'm going to send the knife back to them. They're going to have a look at it, and they're going to let me know, I guess, if there was a problem with it, or whether maybe I just didn't quite get all the burnt steel off, or I don't know. I tried to get rid of all the errors that could be happening on my part of things, and I always will before I do one of these videos that could potentially, cause a company problems. Because, even like with the Kizzle Yard D2 that didn't do quite right the other day, I tried a few different edges on it. You've got to give it a shake. If I just do workshop on something that doesn't go well, I'll always look into it further before I start publishing stuff, because you have to be able to show that you've done your share as well. This will be going back to them, but first, one last thing I'm going to do is I've put the edge on it again, the 17-degree toothy edge, which got the best response. I'm just going to do one last test on it, and I'm going to do it even for pure edge retention, because I know that the board would be doing a bit of the edge loss with all these tests, but I've used the same board, so whatever. But I'm going to use this cork thing, which is way softer on the edge. So I'm going to see how much rope it cuts with that same edge as last time, the 17-degree toothy on cork. Let's get to it. Alright, so I did 125 times there, and that would just be the absence of any extra loss from like the hard wood going into. This has sliced the crap out of this cork, but cork has pretty much no resistance, so that's probably a fair, I guess you could say, if you looked at all my testing, you could probably add like an extra, assuming that this probably mitigates making it so it's only the rope degrading the edge, maybe this tiny bit, but yeah, so you probably add, so we probably had a 25% increase onto all my tests, I guess, factoring in, pretending if I hadn't used the wooden board. So 125 before it no longer sliced held paper. Yeah, it's definitely improvement, but it's still nowhere near what M390 should be doing. So it's just that little bit of extra testing I thought I would do as well. But yeah, still not quite doing what we would hope that M390 would do. Anyway, knife's going off to steel wheel now, so we'll see what they come to terms with, I guess. And at some point I'll probably grab one of these from my own steam, and try again. But as with everything, a sample, I wouldn't, you know, I'd hold off until, you know, I'd have to do 10 of these from different, you know, so my serial number here is 0215, I think that's the serial number. I'd have to do a whole bunch more to be able to really have a conclusion, I'd say, over the whole thing. But yeah, just for info, this knife, a little bit underwhelming, even still, even with the cutting surface removed entirely. Alright guys, catch you in the next one. Bye now.